Hello and welcome to another episode of Come Internet with Me, the gentle web show about browsing the web together. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can find out more about the show at comeinternetwith.me. So today's guest is Anna Rüsche, which is the English description. So Anna has published 3 poetry books, Rasgada, translated and published in Mexico, and later republished in Palua, funded by the PROAC. She has published 1 novel, also funded by PAC, Secretariat of Culture for São Paulo, and she's a teacher, speaker, and has worked with the following institutions. There's a whole grand list of things that she's done, and she holds a PhD in cultural studies with a thesis, Utopia, Feminism, and Resignation. Anna, would you like to come internet with me? Hi, Anna. How are you doing?
Hi, Jay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Great. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
What have you been up to today?
We will search about biorhythm. What do you
Biorhythms.
Think? Yes.
Okay. Before we do that, is it connected to your work in any way in what you're writing about at the moment, or just interested in finding out more?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love to sleep, and in this pandemic days, I think that thinking about biorhythm, it's important because we can sense it more. I don't know, from my experience, I don't know about you. And yes, I'm working on a piece, like it's a novel, so it will be, I don't know, finished in the next year. I don't know, because I have a novel to finish first about another subject. And yes, I think investigating the way we sleep is very interesting, because like sleeping is a new domain to science, and scientists do not know so much about sleeping. And I think understand more about biorhythm and the way, I don't know, plants, animal, or I don't know, other creatures do sleep and also regulate themselves. It's very interesting.
Okay, shall we dive in and let's have a look. There we go. I think I should. There we go. There we are. Biorhythms. Biorhythm. Well, I mean, let's start with Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's fair.
Trusted tarot. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Biorhythm theory is a pseudoscientific idea that our daily lives are significantly affected by the rhythmic cycles of periods of 23, 28, and 33.
I don't know, it was a pseudo-scientific idea.
Well, maybe we can go back and see, we can go back and have a look, right? Like, and see what else. Maybe what we think of biorhythms is not what like Wikipedia thinks of biorhythms.
I think so. Yeah.
Typically, a 23-day physical cycle, a 28-day emotional cycle, and a 33-day intellectual cycle. The idea was developed by Wilhelm Fleisch.
Yeah.
In the late 19th century, and was popularized in the United States in the late 1970s. His proposal has been independently tested and consistently no validity for it has been found. Let's have a look. The theory was developed by Wilhelm Fleisch. According to the theory of biorhythms, a person's life is influenced by rhythmic biological cycles that affect his or her ability in various domains, such as mental, physical, and emotional activity. These cycles begin at birth. The theory is built on the idea of biofeedback, the process of gaining greater awareness of many. Well, we should have a look at that as well.
Yeah, I think, yeah, when you are a woman, you have like this idea that I don't know, your hormones also have like a real important role in the way you think, the way you have your everyday life, and that's true. in a part. However, I think that's more, there are more elements in this.
Rather than like just the strict
Yeah.
Let's just go back to sharing my
But
screen.
it was a good shot because I don't know about this.
Yeah. Well, we're into uncharted. We're in new territory, basically.
Yeah. I like it very much.
Numbers from most biorhythm models use 3 cycles: a 23-day physical cycle, a 28-day emotional cycle, and a 33-day intellectual cycle. Although the 28-day cycle is the same length as the average woman's menstrual cycle and was originally described as the female cycle, the two are not necessarily in synchronization. Each of these cycles varies between high and low extremes sinusoidally, with days and where cycle crosses the 0 line described as critical days of greater risk or uncertainty. The numbers from plus 100% maximum to minus. This Wikipedia page repeats itself a lot.
And I must
carry on.
must correct myself because I said woman, and I was related with people who menstruated, and that's not true, right? Because I was talking of
people who menstruate.
Yeah, sorry for this. But go ahead, yeah.
Biorhythms were first devised by Wilhelm Fleisch, a Berlin physician and patient of Sigmund Freud. Citation needed. Fleisch believed he observed regularities in, I mean, this is like observing cycles in nature, right? It's basically.
Yeah.
He labeled the 23-day rhythm male and the 28-day rhythm female, matching the menstrual cycle.
Those days were wild.
Yeah, in 1904, Viennese psychology professor Hermann Schwoboda came to similar conclusions. Alfred Telschler, professor of engineering at the School of Innsbruck, developed Schwoboda's work and suggested students' good and bad days follow a rhythmic pattern. One of the first academic researchers of biorhythms was Estonian-born Nikolai Parna, who published a book in German called Rhythm, Life and Creation in 1923. That's a good book title.
Yeah.
The practice of consulting biorhythms popularized in the 1970s by a series of books by Bernard Glitzen, Critical Views. There have been 36 published studies on biorhythm theory, but according to the study of Terence Hines, all of these supported a null hypothesis, and there is no correlation of human experience and the supposed biorhythms beyond what can be explained by coincidence. Well, I mean, if you live in a narrative universe, then coincidence doesn't exist, does it?
Yeah.
Hines,
Right.
therefore, concluding the theory is not valid. 1978, study of incidents of industrial accidents found neither empirical or theoretical support for the biorhythm model. In Underwood Dudley's book, Numerology, or What Pythagoras Wrought, he provides an example of a situation where a magician provides a woman her biorhythm chart and supposedly included the next 2 years of her life. The woman sent letters to the magician describing how accurate the chart was. The magician purposely sent her a biorhythm chart based on a different birth date. After he explains that he had sent the wrong chart to her, he sent her another chart also having the wrong birth date. And then she said this new chart was even more accurate than the previous one. It's kind of willful, credulous belief in vague or inaccurate prognostication derives from motivated reasoning. You see, this is Wikipedia getting really, it's on dangerous ground. I mean, like, anyway, Wilhelm Fleiss is able to impose a number of patterns on virtually anything.
But I love this chart. It's like like an oracle.
Yeah, it is. We should have a look at Wilhelm Fleisch, who's the guy that developed it, see what his life was like. But I think what we were originally looking for was biological rhythm.
Yeah, I think so.
Rather than biorhythm. But let's have a look at these two things first, because this guy sounds interesting.
William Fleiss had I love this word, otorrinolaryngologist.
What is it?
It's very hard to pronounce. I love it. It's a physician who works with, I don't
Head
know.
and neck.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's very hard to pronounce in Portuguese too. As a child, I loved the word.
I'm gonna auto.
It's hard, right?
Yeah. Auto rhino. Oh, that's okay. So it's auto rhino. Let me just cover my screen and do each word separately. Auto rhino laryngology. There
Yeah,
we go.
that's right.
Yeah. Auto rhino laryngology.
And
Wow.
abbreviated.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, no wonder why they call it ENT doctors in the UK. Ear, nose, and throat.
Okay.
Okay. Well, understand what that is. Let's go back to his life. Career. Fleisch developed several idiosyncratic theories, such as vital periodicity, forerunner to the popular concepts of biorhythms. But some of his thinking, such as the idea of innate bisexuality, was incorporated into Freud's theories. Fleisch believed men and women went through mathematically fixed cycles, 23 and 28 days, respectively. Another of Fleisch's ideas was the theory of nasal reflex neurosis, which became widely known following the publication of his controversial book, Neue Blitzschlag in Therapie der nasalen Reflexneurose in Vienna. The theory postulated a connection between the nose and the genitals and related this to a variety of neurological and psychological symptoms. Fleisch developed a surgical operation intended to sever the link.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
No, yes, those days in the beginning of the psychoanalysis, wow, people.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's on cocaine, everyone's taking amphetamines. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Joseph Breuer's suggestion, Fleisch attended several conferences with Sigmund Freud. Two soon formed a strong friendship. Through their extensive correspondence and a series of personal meetings, Fleisch began to play an important part in the development of psychoanalysis. Freud described Fleisch as the Kepler of biology.
Oh, wow.
Repeatedly allowed Fleisch to operate on his nose and sinuses to cure his neurosis, and also experimented with the anesthetization of the nasal mucosa with cocaine. So Fleisch was the guy that introduced Freud to cocaine. Wow. And then he developed biorhythms. So Emma Eckstein had a particularly disastrous experience when Freud referred the then 27-year-old patient to Fleisch for surgery to remove the tubertinate bone from her nose, essentially to cure her from premenstrual depression. Eckstein hemorrhaged profusely in the weeks following the procedure, almost to the point of death as infection set in. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Freud consulted with another surgeon who removed a piece of surgical gauze that Fleisch had left behind.
Mm.
Wow.
So he was not this good as physician as, I don't know, as a theoretical thinker, perhaps.
Yeah. He predicted Freud's death would be around the age of 51. Their friendship, however, did not last to see the prediction out. In 1904, their friendship disintegrated due to Fleisch's belief that Freud had given details of a periodicity theory Fleisch was developing to a plagiarist. Freud died at 83 years of age.
See the shade.
Yeah.
In the Wikipedia.
Freud ordered all his correspondence with Fleisch be destroyed. It is only known today because Marie Bonaparte purchased Freud's letters to Fleisch and refused to permit their destruction.
Okay.
Okay, well, we can have a look at biofeedback. Process of gaining greater awareness of many physiological functions of one's own body. Here we go. This is a bit more interesting than the biorhythm pseudoscience.
It was.
Well, I mean, it's all
very
interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. There is a lot in here.
Yeah.
This is a very comprehensive Wikipedia page. Stop me. I'll skim through it, but stop me if there's something that you want to know more about.
Okay.
Okay, so biofeedback is the process of gaining greater awareness of many physiological functions of one's own body commercially by using electronic or other instruments, with the goal of being able to manipulate the body's systems at will. Humans conduct biofeedback naturally all the time at varied levels of consciousness and intentionality. Biofeedback and the biofeedback loop can be thought of as a self-regulation. Some of the processes that can be controlled include brainwaves, muscle tone, skin conductance, heart rate, and pain perception. Biofeedback may be used to improve health, performance, psychological changes that occur in conjunction with the changes to thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Recently, technologies have provided assistance with intentional biofeedback, extra equipment, meta-analysis. The meta-analysis of different biofeedback treatments have shown that some benefit of the treatment of headaches and migraines and ADHD. With some of these studies, the meta-analysis did not make comparisons.
That's very interesting.
So I have a feeling that this definitely falls out of like cybernetics.
Yes.
Information encoded biofeedback is an evolving form and methodology in the field of biofeedback.
Interesting.
Has its modern conventional roots in early 1970s. So yes, New Mind Biofeedback. What's the other book? Just called Biofeedback, 1973. Over the years, biofeedback as a discipline of technology has continued to mature. Electromyograph, EMGs.
Now I understand what is. Okay, now I have more.
Sensor modalities. So there's EMGs, there's thermometers, electrodermographs, measure skin electrical activity directly, usually placed on the wrists. Electroencephalograph.
Today we are full of long Latin words.
Measures the electrical activation of the brain from the scalp. So that's the one where all those people have stuff sticking out. Photoplethysmograph, or PPG.
I love the acronym PPG. Measures the blood flow.
Blood flow.
Wow.
Electrocardiogram, ECG, and there's a pneumograph, respiratory strain gauge, uses the flexible center band.
So there's lots of pneumograph, I know. Yeah.
Pneumograph, capnometer, infrared detector to measure end tidal CO2. So that's like exhaled through the nostrils.
Yes, as a writer, this kind of technical vocab is very welcome. So you can use this, and you you feel that you know what you are writing about.
You can make your world building a little bit more believable.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
The rhinoencephalograph, the brain flow biofeedback. And how is it detected? Electrodes are attached to the skin at certain points on the head to emit, so it's blood flow to the brain. And hematoencephalography. People are probably watching this right now going, yo, you idiot, this is how you say it.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah.
You know that the words in Portuguese are the same. So, you should only change like the accent. Like
and then exactly.
Encephalografia. That's something in this field.
So that's a functional infrared imaging technique. Measures the differences in the color of light reflected back through the scalp based on the amount of oxygenated and unoxygenated blood. And there's pressure, blood pressure. So applications, lots of things. So there's incontinence, neurofeedback, electro.
Okay.
So this is, I mean,
yeah,
this is
neurotherapy is a good word for a science fiction piece.
what word was that?
I lost it. No,
Neurotherapy.
Yes, yes.
Maybe
Sounds
we should go have a look at that after this. Electrodermal systems, muscular systems, cardiovascular, pain, clinical effectiveness, research. Biofeedback and neurofeedback seem to offer the kind of evidence-based practice that the healthcare establishment is demanding. So this is just more and more data about the efficacy of stuff, I guess.
Yes.
Psychophysiology and behavioral therapy. It ties the biofeedback, neurofeedback to the biomedical paradigm and to research stronger than other cases of behavioral interventions. Physio, I mean, the efficacy of biofeedback for functional disorders, attention deficit disorder, fascial pain, hypertension, urinary incontinence, Raynaud's phenomenon. Let's have a look at that.
Yeah.
Substance abuse, headaches, efficacy. So then they've got different levels of. I wonder if it's. What I'm unclear about, and I don't think it will probably, unless I actually read this entire page word for word, is whether what they're actually looking at is whether the things that can be measured have any relation to the things that they want to measure. You know, so if it's ADHD, do all of these like, you know, ECG sensors and stuff have.
Yes.
So here, for example, level 1, not empirically supported. This designation includes applications supported for anecdotal reports, non-peer reviewed, assigning eating disorders, immune function, spinal cord injury to this category. Criticisms in healthcare environment, cost containment, and blah, blah, blah. Critics question how these treatments compare to conventional behavioral medical interventions.
Yeah, interesting, because we are in a totally new field.
Claude Bernard proposed in 1865 that the body strives to maintain a steady state because the concept of homeostasis. R.J. Tarkov followed that voluntary control of heart rate could be fairly direct. I wonder how much of these things are used when they're doing like neuroscience experiments on people that are high-level meditators.
Yeah.
Alexander Graham Bell attempted to teach the deaf to speak through the use of 2 devices.
I know this. Oh.
The phonoautograph.
Wow.
The earliest known device for recording sound.
Okay. I read it wrongly. I read with the deaf, not the deaf. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Because it was. Oh, sorry for this. Sorry for nothing. Okay. No, because all these experiments are really, I don't know, eccentric. So it could be.
Well, I mean, it was like the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah.
It was like the electronic voice phenomena where they thought the dead could be heard in the radio.
Yes, perhaps a century later, people will think it about us.
Yeah, exactly. The participants of the landmark conference coined the term biofeedback in 1969. Biofeedback systems have been known in India and some other countries for millennia. Ancient Hindu practices like yoga and pranayama breathing techniques are essentially biofeedback methods. Many yogis and sadhus have been known to exercise control over their physiological processes. In addition to recent research on yoga, Paul Brunton, a British writer who traveled extensively in India, has written about many of the cases he's witnessed. I mean, they don't use all of those scanners though. You just breathe, you do pranayama, and then you change your heart rate or change the way that your brain works. Okay, well, neurofeedback, that was what we were looking at before. Since the first reports of neurofeedback treatment in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in 1976, many studies have investigated the effects of neurofeedback on different systems of ADHD. Oh, okay. So neurofeedback uses neurotherapy or neurobiofeedback as a type of biofeedback that uses real-time displays of brain activity, most commonly EEG, let's say. I've already said that word once so far. In an attempt to teach self-regulation of brain function.
Great.
So I wonder if it's like a game almost, or not. I mean, like, yeah, I guess like a game where you sit with it on and then you have to try and learn how to get the line within it. Yeah, like think in a certain way to get to get the line within
device. Yes, I do have a small device. I have asthma. So like you put your finger in and it say, everything about, I don't know, heart rate, and also how many air you have in your blood. It's very interesting. So you can like a little calm yourself or reflect about this. It's good.
But I guess it seemed to me that a lot of those biofeedback things were like real time, rather than like always ongoing. I think what we should do is go back to
or Google.
Oh, let's have a look at that Raynaud's syndrome very quickly.
Yes.
What was it? Rarely the spasms of the arteries. Numbness or pain occurs as blood flow returns.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. How?
Yeah, medicine is super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that someone can suffer from like.
Yes, and I don't know, the human body, so many things to be studied. In another life, I would be a physician.
So we were looking into biorhythms, and do you think we want to move into like biorhythms in nature? So we should search for that to see. Or
yes, I think it will be very interesting. No, go ahead. I think
biorhythm in nature. You see, Natural Mums blog. Let's check out the Natural Mums blog.
Okay.
Biorhythmart.com as well. So we'll have a look at these two.
Intuition at gut feeling, interesting also.
Biorhythm explained. In nature, many things run by cycles. The tides, weather cycles, season cycles. Even the sun goes through an active and passive solar cycle. Yes. So if everything around us goes through cycles, shouldn't we go through cycles as well? This is what the concept of biorhythms is based on.
That's more what I thinking in the beginning, but it's very interesting to see everything we have already read. Yes.
Yeah, because this is much more like, oh yeah, you know, there are these cycles in nature and so on and so forth. Therefore, you have an individual biorhythm, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs in that they say as one aspect, the emotional curve has a cycle of 28 days, and the physical curve has a shorter one.
And as we read before, perhaps this is not so accurate.
Well, I mean, it could be accurate for a single
Yeah.
individual, just not taken.
Yeah, not what. Oh, this block is quote Mr. Flies.
Yeah.
Fleas. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I don't think we're going to see whatever this page says because ClickFunnels
I,
is trying to.
it's super a click trap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll just leave that there.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, I am actually a little confused because, you know, we were talking about sleep cycles and stuff, which is
Yes, we could search for circadian rhythm, perhaps. Do you know? It's this word. I think yes, that's right. Because that's like
circadian, potato, natural internal process that regulates sleep.
Because I think it's marvelous that we have like this sense of our body has the sense of, I don't know, its own clock inside it.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I mean, I've read like those articles about you know, the people that go into caves that are completely dark and they go in for 40 days and they think they've only been down there for like 28 or something because like they've been on their own time basically.
Yes.
Circadian rhythm 24 if day and night is diurnal rhythms. Although circadian rhythms are endogenous, they are adjusted to the local environment by external clues called Zeitgebers, German for time givers.
Zeitgebers,
which include light, temperature, and redox. There are multiple mentions of the natural body cycle in Eastern and Native American cultures. The earliest recorded Western accounts of a circadian process date from the 4th century BC, when
even the captain have a complicated name.
Well, I guess it's Androsthenes.
Yes, I think so.
Androsthenes, yeah. A ship's captain serving under Alexander the Great described diurnal leaf movements of the tamarind tree. Because they close up, don't they? The observation of a circadian or diurnal process in humans is mentioned in the Chinese medical texts that date to around the 13th century, including the noon and midnight manual and the mnemonic rhyme to aid the selection of acupoints according to the diurnal cycle, the day and of the month and the season of the year. In 1729, conducted the first Jean-Jacques Orthoz de Marin conducted the first experiments. He noted that 24-hour patterns in the movements of leaves of the planet Mimosa persisted even when the plants were kept in constant darkness.
Yes, that's interesting.
I am struggling to remember, but have you read the book "Thus Spoke the Plant" by by Monica Gagliano?
No, this not no.
I really highly recommend it. She's a scientist who is based in Australia, or was in Australia, and she is also a psychonaut that takes ayahuasca and so on and so forth. And she is the scientist that proved that peas talk to each other with their roots, for example, and that a certain plant has memory.
Yeah, I think in this book, she's quoted in this book. It's a bestseller, The Secret Life of Trees, by Peter Wohlleben.
Yeah.
Yes. She's quoted
Yeah.
like twice in the book.
Yeah. So she discovered the plants have memory and so on and so forth, and everyone, but also it's really great because she takes the psychedelic medicine when she goes on, she's in ceremony with indigenous people, and while she's in ceremony eating the bark of some tree, and alone in the jungle, she gets told how to design the experiments.
Okay.
Which is where you get like the "thus spoke the plant," like in both, in both senses. It's such a good book.
Okay,
and
I read it.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I
I
would
like the
definitely check it out.
subject.
And
You
I
know
bring
my
it up
okay.
just because the diurnal cycle of the mimosa, the plant knows it's night,
Yes,
even though
yes.
it's in the dark.
Yeah, my last book, it's about telepathy. And because I study beer for a while, like for 5 years, I work with beer and fermentation of this stuff and brewing and so on. And I work in a telepathy drug, and it's like not like ayahuasca, but like in a sort of, yes, there is a ritual to drink it, and like science fiction, but in a, I don't know, in another way to understand it. Because in the end of the book, they relate this drug in computers, and that's will be like more. So I will read our Australian scientist.
Yeah, definitely. It's really great book. I read it a couple of years ago, and it blew me away, let's say.
Yeah, great.
So circadian rhythms. So the criteria: the rhythm has to be endogenous, free running period that lasts approximately 24 hours. The rhythms are entrainable. The rhythm can be reset by an exposure to an external stimuli, such as light and heat. A process called entrainment. The rhythms exhibit temperature compensation. Excuse me. In other words, they maintain circadian periodicity over a range of temperatures. So many organisms live at a broad range of temperatures, so on and so forth. So it's got to work during the day, or sorry, in cold and warm temperatures. Circadian rhythms allow organisms to participate and prepare for precise and regular environmental changes. Thus, enable organisms to better capitalize on environmental resources such as light and food compared to those that cannot predict such availability. It's suggested by the maintenance of circadian rhythms in fruit flies after several hundred generations in constant laboratory conditions, as well as in creatures in constant darkness in the wild, and by experimental elimination of behavioral but not physiological circadian rhythms in quail. Okay. What drove them to evolve is an enigmatic question. Previous hypothesis emphasized that photosensitive proteins and circadian rhythms may have originated together in the earliest cells, which proposed protecting replicating DNA from high levels of damaging ultraviolet radiation during the daytime. As a result, replication was regulated to the dark. However, evidence is lacking because it's the simplest organisms with circadian rhythm. The cyanobacteria do the opposite of this and divide more in the daytime. Recent studies instead highlight the importance of coevolution of redox proteins following the Great Oxidation event approximately 2.3 billion years ago. The current view is that circadian changes in environmental oxygen levels and the production of reactive oxygen species in the presence of daylight are likely to have driven the need to evolve circadian rhythms to preempt and therefore counteract the damaging redox reactions on a daily basis. The simplest known clocks, circadian clocks, are bacterial circadian rhythms, exemplified by the yeah, protokaryotes is how I would say it. But recent research has demonstrated that the circadian clock of Xenococcus elongatus can be reconstituted in vitro with just 3 proteins. This clock has been shown to sustain a 22-hour rhythm over several days. The defect in the human hormone of the Drosophila period gene was identified as the cause of a sleep disorder, underscoring the conserved nature of the molecular circadian clock. Importance in animals. Sleeping in feeding patterns of animals, including human beings. It is also clear that patterns of core body temperature, brainwave activity, hormone production, cell regeneration, and other biological activities. Day and night is vital for both plants and animals, and the circadian system plays a role in the measurement and the interpretation of day length. The rhythm is linked to the light-dark cycle. Arctic animals. Norwegian researchers of the University of Tromsø have shown that some Arctic animals show circadian rhythms only in the parts of the year that have daily sunrises and sunrises. Okay. In one study of reindeer, animals at 70 degrees north showed circadian rhythms in the autumn, winter, and spring, but not in the summer.
Okay.
I wonder if, what is it, in Svalbard at 78 degrees north, such rhythms only in autumn and spring. Researchers suspect that other Arctic animals may well not show circadian rhythms in constant light and summer or dark. What do? Just go to sleep when they're tired instead of working on a day-night cycle. Northern Alaska found that day-living ground squirrels and nocturnal porcupines strictly maintain their circadian rhythms through the 82 days and nights of sunshine. Interesting.
Wow.
Butterflies and moths. The navigation and fall of migration of the American monarch butterfly to the overwintering grounds in central Mexico use a time compensated sun compass that depends upon circadian clock in their antennae. In plants, circadian rhythms in plants tell the plant what season it is and when to flower based on the best chance of attracting pollinators.
Yeah, I do have a passion fruit plant here at home, and it's interesting because it literally sleeps at night, like she went. It's cute
goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a prayer plant, like the one that's in the basket behind me. Yeah, that goes to sleep at night as well. Drop its.
This
wakes up in the morning.
Yeah.
Have you seen the videos that are like the time lapses of and you see them like go to sleep and wake up again across the whole day.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It's really interesting in plants, but I mean, this is really technical, isn't it? Like this gets right into the genes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I mean, that's what I mean. I'm not complaining about Wikipedia by any means.
No, but I understand you.
The molecular mechanisms in mammals.
Yeah.
They know where it's located. A pair of distinct cells located in the hypothalamus. In humans, early research into circadian rhythm suggested that most people prefer a day closer to 25 hours when isolated from external stimuli like daylight and timekeeping. However, this research was faulty because it failed to shield the participants from artificial light. Although subjects were shielded from time cues like clocks and daylight, the researchers were not aware of the phase delaying effects of indoor electric lights. The subjects were allowed to turn on the light and they're awake, and to turn it off when they wanted to sleep. Electric light in the evening delayed their circadian phase. The more stringent study conducted in 1999 by Harvard University estimated the natural human rhythm closer to 24 hours and 11 minutes, much closer to a solar day. Okay.
Yeah, perhaps I read that the word midnight, like midnight was the middle of the night, and now it's like in the beginning is when you are, I don't know, watching Netflix. I'm sorry for this.
That's quite all right. What is that?
It's a cell phone.
Oh, sounded
Because
like a clock.
No, it's like I have two of them here, and I forgot to shut up this
No
one.
worries.
Yeah.
There's I remember reading about sleep before in like the medieval period.
Yeah, people sleep very much more than our days.
Yeah, well, without artificial light, but they used to have like a second sleep. But like people would regularly wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, actually, people, I don't know, because I'm not physician and we are reading so many data, but normally human beings have like biphasic sleep. So you should have like a small sleep in the middle of the day. It's very healthful also for some people. We are very different from each other.
Maybe we should look up human sleep next,
Okay.
just because like we're on the circadian rhythms. We should, and you began with the, oh, here we go. Indoor lighting requirements for circadian rhythm regulation are not simply the same as those for vision. Planning of indoor lighting in offices and institutions is beginning to take this into account. It's quite cool, actually. Like, imagine having a imagine your office being set up by interior designers, both for like lighting for, you know, the best kind, and also like all the different air conditioning noises. So it's all, you know, have all the air conditioning tuned, so it's like not disruptive to people's concentration.
Have you read this essay? It's called 24/7 from Jonathan Gray. I think
No,
it's he's based in New York. It's a very short essay about the capitalism.
What's it called? We'll look it up.
24/7. Yeah. And
is it 24/7
Jonathan
by who?
Crary is the author. Yeah, by Jonathan Crary. Yes, that's right. I think that I have the book here.
Late Capitalism and the Ends of Sleep.
It's a very good book to be more paranoid. It's like an essay, but it's very good to read. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, thank you, Xenopractice. Right, that will go in the links. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out. Let's have a look at the rhizome information about this. Labor Day. Crary takes sleep as a lens through which to consider economic and social transformations wrought in the 20th and 21st century. Cool.
Yes, and because he begins with like the scientific discovery about how we sleep, and then he moved on about the techniques to I don't know, to take time from the sleeping, and so we can work more. And it's very good. It's a very good reading. Like, I think he repeats himself in the essay in this book. It can be shorter, but the main idea is very well built. Yes.
Well argued.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll add it to my Kindle.
Yeah.
Let's go back to what were we? Let's have a look at human sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, we were looking at this. Obesity and diabetes affects people's circadian rhythms. Shift work. I got really sick when I used to work nights. Really, really sick.
Yes, it's complicated to change. Yeah.
Yeah. Airplane pilots and cabin crew. I mean, they're always going like over time zones and stuff, aren't they? Disruption, rhythms has a negative effect. Many travelers have experienced a condition known as jet lag with associated symptoms of fatigue. What's that phrase that William Gibson uses? You have jet lag, which is like the physical.
Yes, when your soul is not with you.
Soul delay. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought that jet lag was like, I don't know, something that people. I thought it was like a detail until I have a very a very strong jet lag disorder, and I couldn't, like, my brain was, because I flew to the west and to the east, like 7 or 10 hours, because I was in Brazil and I visit Iran, like in the Tehran capital. And when I was there, I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. And I was so tired. And then I understand what jet lag means.
Actually, what it actually means, yeah.
Yes,
oh, it's just someone who's tired.
No, it's like it's very interesting. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I was okay when I went to Asia. I was okay when we arrived in Asia, but it was when we flew home and was coming back.
Yeah, that's it. Because I flew, I don't know, to Europe. You know, the jet lag is not so hard. When you go longer, wow. So you, like, the sunlight hurts.
Yeah, you need to keep your sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. What were we were going to search for human sleep. I wonder if we're still going to get circadian rhythms. How much sleep do we really need? I mean, we could just look up sleep. That's quite cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we're still in the biorhythm realm.
Yes, that's it. And I love that REM is like the name of the band.
Yeah. Sleep is a naturally occurring state of mind and body characterized by altered consciousness, relatively inhibited sensory activity, reduced muscle activity, and nearly all voluntary muscles during rapid eye movement, reduce interactions with surroundings, and it distinguishes us from wakefulness. Sleep occurs in repeating periods in which the body alternates between two distinct modes, REM sleep and non-REM sleep. Although REM stands for rapid eye movement, this mode of sleep has many other aspects, including the paralysis of the body. A well-known feature of sleep is the dream, the experience typically recounted in narrative form, which resembles waking life while in progress, which usually can be later distinguished as fantasy.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily believe that there is any difference between being asleep and being awake. Well, being in a dream world, the dream world and the waking world is pretty much the same
that's
thing.
a good input. I would write it down.
During sleep, most of the body's systems are in an anabolic state, helping to restore. Humans may suffer from various sleep disorders, dysnomnias such as insomnia, hypersomnia, narcolepsy, and sleep apnea. Okay. Timing. Well, we just looked at the circadian clock. Process S, sleep debt. Generally speaking, the longer an organism is awake, the more it feels its need to sleep, or sleep debt. The driver of sleep is referred to as process S. The balance between sleeping and waking is regulated by a process called homeostasis, which we also looked at before. Process S is driven by the depletion of glycogen and the accumulation of androsyne in the forebrain, which disinhibits the ventral pre-optic nucleus, allowing for inhibition of ascending reticular activating system, whatever that is. I bet it means like...
Yes, I don't know.
So interconnected nuclei are located at the front of the brain.
Okay.
Process S is driven by the depletion of glycogen. We just read that. Sleep deprivation tends to cause slower brain waves in the frontal cortex. There's disagreement of how much sleep debt is possible to accumulate and whether sleep debt is accumulated against an individual's average sleep or some other benchmark. It is likely in Western societies, children are sleeping less than they previously had, playing Fortnite on the Xbox till late. If it's anything to go by my neighbor. Non-neurochemical indicator of sleep debt is blah, blah, blah. We just read this. Coffee and caffeine temporarily block the effect.
Yes.
Social timing. Humans are also influenced by aspects of social time, such as the hours when people are awake and the hours when work is required, the time on the clock, etc. Time zones, standard time zones are used to unify the timing of people in the same area. There's a really great book by Jenny Ogler. Let's look it up. Is it Jenny? Is that how you spell her name? Time, Temporality, and the History of Capitalism.
Okay.
And in fact, it may not be a book. Vanessa Ogler. Sorry about that. No, it's in this journal. I read this. I've been reading her work on and off for a while. She's really good on time in culture.
Okay, good.
Which is this sort of social timing, and it might actually relate to this book.
Perhaps she's quoted. Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Vanessa.
Okay.
The Global Transformation of Time. That's the book.
Okay, that's good.
Let's go back to the sleep. I'm going to go back through and I'll add all of these bookmarks to the Arena channel. Polyphasic sleep, an organism sleeps several times in a 24-hour cycle. Under experimental conditions, humans tend to alternate more frequently between sleep and wakefulness if they have nothing better to do. Given a 14-hour period of darkness in experimental conditions, humans tend towards bimodal sleep, with 2 sleep periods concentrated at the beginning and the end of the dark time. Bimodal sleep in humans was more common before the Industrial Revolution. The different characteristic sleep patterns, such as the familiarity, so-called early bird or night owl, are called chronotypes.
Chronotypes, okay.
Yeah, I was talking about chronotypes recently with a friend of mine. So I used to work in psychometric testing, like personality testing. And with the move to people working from home, I don't understand why we don't ask people like what their chronotype is just before they even join a company. We just ask them, oh, are you an early bird or are you a night owl, and allow them to just schedule
yes, that's so wise, because my mom is like an early bird and my dad is totally a night owl. So I know about chronotypes. I'm in the middle. I'm not, I can do whatever. I don't know. I'm flex. but it's very important. It's very, I don't know, import for people's life, because they can't do like the best they can in the time. Yes.
If you're always like, it's the same as what is it about how teenagers require more sleep, but we force them to go to school at 9 o'clock in the morning when really they should be going there at like 10:30.
Yes, actually, I felt guilty for a long time because I need more sleep than, I don't know, the average person. But when I awake, I work like very, very, like I'm super active normally. And that's like a paradox, because normally there's a belief that people who sleep more, like they are lazy, and it takes me a while, including a physician, to said to me, no, it's okay. You work with your brain, like you write all the day, you teach, you read, so it's okay to sleep more. Because I really felt guilty, I don't know, for many years because I need like minimum 9 hours sleep to be in my normal condition.
Yeah. So every
And
time that we've
that's
spoken before where it's been early on your time,
no, it's
you
okay.
know,
That's okay. No, it's okay because I can sleep a little
go to bed
later
earlier.
and
Yeah.
no worries. No, that's okay. Really, no. And that's a joy also to connect with people in other time zones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've been recording nearly for an hour. What are you up to at the moment? Do you have any books coming out, or are you speaking at any conventions, or?
Wow, now I don't think so because I have made so many things before, and I'm in this period when you must like remove yourself of this I don't know of this busy life or because here we are beginning the winter, so this is the opposite also.
Yeah.
And I must finish the first version of a novel, and so I'm like off of events, but I know you can if you enjoy, I would invite you to take a look in FutureCon perhaps, because FutureCon happened last year and will happen this year for sure.
Yeah.
So in September, we hope, the first week of September, we are not so sure, but we have the schedule in our mind, and that's could be a good shot.
Yep. I'll put the links to FutureCon in the
That's good.
in the show notes as well.
Yeah, but that's it. Yes, I also be a part of Relampeio. It's a Brazilian. I will type here because it's Relampeio Festival. It's a Brazilian festival about science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And it's made for a Brazilian audience, so I don't know if interesting for people of other countries, but it's spoken in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese as well. So perhaps it's interesting for you to, like, for you who people of the future
yeah, watching this, if you've made it to the end.
Yeah.
Speaking
brave
of which,
people of the future.
yeah, the brave people, if you've been this brave and have made it to the end, please go to comeinternetwith.me for other shows, more information, and you can also support me and all of my work at the link too. Anna, thank you so much for coming internet with me.
Thank you so much, Jay, for the invitation.
Yeah, and please be well. Bye.
Bye-bye.